Welcome in.
Let's get to work.
The fastest growing sports spectacular. It's the Big E Sports Show. Your 1 hour comprehensive expose of all things in the sports universe. With a focus on some of the biggest sports icons on the planet. Now, here's your host, the one and only award-winning Elissa Walker Campbell.
Welcome back to the Big E Sports Show. I am your host, Elissa Walker Campbell, and the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl season remains as one of the most unforgettable stories in NFL history. A team that captured the heart of a city and the attention of football fans everywhere. Our next guest chronicled the journey in his brand new book, Leap Year, and we are so excited to have him on with us. He is the senior writer for The Athletic, and that is Zach Berman. Hello, Zach.
Hello, thanks for having me on.
Hey, we're looking forward to taking a deep dive into your book, but let's hit on some of the main storylines surrounding the Eagles. They certainly have been winning, but not always in dominant fashion. So do you think right now, heading into week 5, that they have truly found their rhythm?
No, I don't think that they found their rhythm entering week 5. And I think it's the type of thing where you spend the early portion of the season trying to figure out who you are. And the Eagles are doing that. Now, I'm surprised that the passing game hasn't been better given the talent that they have. But the fact that they're 4-0 while figuring this out gives them, a certain amount of leeway. It's just they can't let the record rationalize the way they're playing at times offensively. They need to be more consistent in the passing game for sure.
Well, let's talk about the offense because Jalen Hurts has had some ups and downs. I mean, how would you, Zach, grade his play through the first month? And what do you expect from him against the Broncos?
Yeah, as far as grading, there's 2 ways of looking at it. He's playing winning football, right? And that's the key. He's not turning the ball over. He's making, some critical throws in critical situations at times. But yeah, they need to be more consistent. I actually think overall Jalen's been playing at a high level. I just don't think that they're doing enough to get A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith involved. And so that needs to be an objective this week going into the Broncos game. They're facing a really good Broncos defense. Patrick Surtain was Defensive Player of the Year last year. They have a really good defensive front. So this is going to be a challenge for the Eagles. I kind of think with the talent that the Eagles have offensively, if the passing game gets going, they're going to be hard to stop.
Eagles-Broncos on Sunday, 12 o'clock kickoff on CBS. And, of course, talking about Jalen Hurts, you're right. I mean, he has been solid, but not necessarily spectacular. So let's take a deeper dive into his relationship with A.J. Brown, especially after, Brown had that admitted frustration due to his lack of touches. I mean, what do you think is the biggest issue here, and how do they resolve it?
Yeah, I think the issue, if anything, is that AJ needs to be more involved in the offense. The team's better when he gets the ball. It's that simple. He's that good of a player. He's a force multiplier. Like the offense just looks different when he's playing at a high level. And so it sounds kind of simple, but they need to scheme ways to, or within the scheme, they need to get AJ Brown the ball. Jalen Hurts needs to throw him good passes. And if they do that consistently enough, I'd be confident that A.J. Brown's going to begin.
Well, and you just think, if Jalen Hurts and A.J. smooth out their chemistry issues, just how good can this offense be?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it. Every year A.J.'s been here and he's had, big year. And so I don't know if I would call it chemistry issues per se. It's just not been – it just hasn't been consistent. And that's where – I think it's the type of thing when we pick our head up at the end of the year, Jay's going to be, 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 yards again. But the fact that he hasn't done that consistently through 4 games is it's not good enough for the Eagles. Yeah, to answer how good can this offense be? I mean, this offense has 8 starters that are Pro Bowl caliber players. Really, if you think about it, 9 starters that are Pro Bowl caliber players. Dallas Goedert's up there. So across the board, they have they have such good talent. And there's little reason why this shouldn't be an explosive offense. They don't need to play the way they did in 2021 to win games. This is a team that can beat you through the air, can beat you on the ground, but across the board, I keep saying consistent because, you've seen the first half against Tampa Bay, you've seen the second half against the Rams, but you haven't really seen that full game yet. And once that full game comes, this will be a scary team.
Zach, and weigh in on the offensive line. I mean, still one of the best in football, but just how crucial is their protection?
Well, yeah, I mean that it's the way when Andy Reid was here, you win at the line of scrimmage, and the Eagles have historically, were one of the best offensive lines in the league. This group last year and the year before were the best offensive line in the league. I think that group can play more consistent too, especially the run blocking. You're seeing that, but yeah, I mean, I think when you have Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, and Cam Jurgens, you should be the best offensive line in the league.
Hey, it is week 5 in the NFL. Eagles, Broncos, we are getting you ready. Countdown to kickoff. So Zach Berman is our very special guest, senior writer with The Athletic. He has a brand new book out, Leap Year, the Philadelphia Eagles Ascent to Super Bowl Champions. We're going to highlight that here just momentarily. Talk to me about as far as the Eagles. I mean, do you still view them as the true Super Bowl contender right now? How does week 5 feel for you at this point of the season?
Yeah, definitely a true Super Bowl contender. If you're making a list of the 5 or so teams that are legitimate Super Bowl contenders, definitely, the Eagles are on that list. They're the defending champs.
Yeah.
They have talent both sides of the ball. I mean, Vic Fangio might be the best defense coordinator in the NFL, or certainly up there. So you kind of combine all of that. And, I think that the Eagles are a real Super Bowl contender. And frankly, they're one of only, we're talking about all these things they can do better. There's only 2 teams in the league that are undefeated, them and the Bills, right? And so I think if you were to ask a lot of people who the 2 best teams in the league are, they'd say the Eagles and the Bills. The Eagles haven't played to that level consistently enough, but I'd be confident they can get there.
Zach Berman is our very special guest. Give him a follow on X at ZBerm, B-E-R-M. He is the senior writer at The Athletic and has a brand new book out. It is titled Leap Year, the Philadelphia Eagles Ascent to Super Bowl Champions. So let's transition. And what inspired you to capture the Eagles championship season in book form?
Yeah, it's the fact that I was here every day, right? Good, bad, and all
cool job.
It's part of being a beat reporter, and so you're able to kind of oftentimes you think of books about teams, and people have to go back after the fact and figure out what happened, right? I mean, I was living there every day, basically, right? You're in the locker room, you're talking to players, to coaches, and people in the front office, and you're able to give what you hope to be, a real account of how that team ascended to Super Bowl champions. So I try to take the reader from the red confetti after losing to Kansas City, in the Super Bowl in February 2023 to the green confetti when the Eagles won the Super Bowl in February 2025, and the dynamics that took place to get there, how they literally took that leap, or I should say figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
Because when you think of Saquon Barkley making that leap, that's the picture on the cover. Mm-hmm. But also, figuratively going from a team that was, there were a lot of questions about if Nick Sirianni would be the coach and the future of a lot of people in that building after the 2023 season. For them to be Super Bowl champs, I try to really kind of give you behind the scenes and the day-by-day, week-by-week accounting of how that occurred.
Zach, what is one story from the Super Bowl season in Leap Year that fans might be surprised to learn?
Yeah, well, so I hope that there's much they're surprised to learn, but I really think the effect of the bye week on that team, right? And, they had a week 5 bye, so you and I are talking week 5 this year. After during the bye week last year, the Eagles were 2-2. They were not the team that they needed to be. There was a lot of questions about Nick Sirianni's future, and they come back after the bye, and I should say some of the offensive linemen went to Nick Sirianni's office and said, they need to run the ball more. They need to rely on the offensive line and Saquon Barkley. And they only lost 1 game to the rest of the season. And so really, I think the chapter on the bye week, and I'm saying that because we're talking during week 5 now, I think really gives an interesting sense of how that season turned this time last year.
Yeah. Earlier we were talking about Jalen Hurts, and he certainly has been described as a quiet but a commanding leader. How would you characterize his leadership style, and what did you share about Jalen Hurts in the book?
Yeah, Jalen, he's focused on winning, right? And I think, that might seem obvious, but I think by the end of the book, readers will see how obsessed he is with winning. And I vividly remember being there the day after they won the Super Bowl, and he's getting presented the MVP trophy, and it's a photo op, and he takes a photo of with the MVP trophy, and the NFL is telling him to kind of move along, and he asks to take a video with the Lombardi trophy, right? Because that's kind of the trophy that really mattered to him. And when he was informed that he was Super Bowl MVP, he corrected the person who told him that and said Super Bowl champ, right? Because the Super Bowl champ part of it is what really mattered to him. And you'll see, accounting for the speech that he gave the team the night before the game. And I think you'll see in that speech part of his leadership style.
He's the senior writer with The Athletic. Give him a follow on X at ZBerm. And of course, has a brand new book out, Leap Year, the Philadelphia Eagles Ascent to Super Bowl Champions. And I'm a proud Oklahoma Sooner, and we love Jalen Hurts. Just share a little bit about, as far as Jalen's background at Alabama and then the crossover to Oklahoma, just how that shapes the way he leads today.
Yeah, so I think Nick Saban had a big, influence on him, right, playing for Nick Saban. But then you got to remember, this is someone who lost his job, who got benched at halftime at the national championship game, right? And the way that he responded to that as a teammate definitely resonated with the Eagles when they were drafting him. But he transferred to Oklahoma. He improves his passing while playing for Lincoln Riley. But it's kind of been the story of Jalen Hurts' career, is that he continues to improve. He continues to get better. He continues to add things to his game. He's a better quarterback now than he was when he came to Philly, and he was a better quarterback at Oklahoma than he was in Alabama. And so, I think the improvement that he has and some of the obstacles that he endured are very real.
Hey, we are winding down our time with Zach Berman from The Athletic. Give us a hit. Talk about Saquon Barkley. What did you share about him?
Yeah, with Saquon, really, it was the way he changed the team. And then, the running style that he has, the historic season, the decision to not go for 2,000 yards. But also, Saquon, I went to his hometown and I ate lunch across the street from his childhood home and really tried to show how he was shaped by the town in the Lehigh Valley where he came from. The decision to go from the Giants to the Eagles, things of that nature, I think that readers will really kind of see in the book.
Hey, good stuff. Give him a follow on Twitter at ZBerm, Zach Berman from The Athletic, and you can go and get a copy of his book anywhere. It is titled Leap Year, the Philadelphia Eagles Ascent to Super Bowl Champions. Congratulations, Zach, and we look forward to another conversation. And enjoy the game this weekend.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
You bet.